Hi, in this tutorial you will learn how to create a section profile using GSA Grasshopper. Section profiles are used for 1D elements and members, and they can be found under the Properties tab here. So I'm going to use the Create Section component and then fill in the inputs. Firstly, we need a profile, and secondly, we need a material. So we can hover over the input to see what the required inputs are. The profile, I'm going to use the helper component called create profile, and this is a drop-down component where we can choose between different types of profiles. So we can select an angle profile and we can see that the number of inputs and their names changes. We can also select perimeter. Here you can input a planar surface, B-rep. It can have holes in it, or just simply a closed curve for the outline of your profile. We can also use the catalog, which is the steel catalog from GSA. So if we click on the catalog here, first we have to select the catalog that we're in. I'm in Europe, so I'm going to pick a Euro profile. Then I want to select the type. Maybe it should be a HE profile, and then finally I can select the actual profile, and maybe a 400B profile. And I'm gonna take a panel component here just to display what this has done. This is simply just creating the text string that GSA requires. You can also write this by hand if you know the profile you want, but this component here will help you find the syntax. So we can input that here into the profile, and then we have created a section. Now if I want to send that to GSA, I can use the create model component. So it lives under here, create model, and I can input that straight into the properties here, and that has created a completely blank model other than it has this single profile in it, but at least that allows us to save it. So I'm going to use the save component here, input the GSA model, and then click save as. I'm going to save it as a test file on my desktop and open that file, and we can see that it has created under here under properties section library. There's one library here, and it's a HE400p profile. Now let's try create another profile. We can again use the create profile component here, and for instance a rectangle needs depth and width, D and B. And we can see that the measure here, we can set that to what we want, but we can actually also create this differently. We can create that directly from a string. So using a text panel, I can write 0.4 meters. So even though I've set my measure here to millimeters, I can input 0.4 meters. This will automatically work. I could also say, for instance, 35 centimeters. And I can have a space in here also. This will also work. So this has created a profile, standard rectangle. The definition has been set by my drop-down selection here to millimeters, and it has automatically converted 0.4 into 400 millimeters and 35 centimeters into 350 millimeters. Then I also wanted to show that you can use the profile and the section to get some section properties. So also under the properties tab here, we can go down and we can find the section properties. We also have the section dimensions that we can have a look at. So firstly, let's have a look at the section properties. Here we can input directly a profile, or we can input a section parameter. Both will work. And if I copy the panel here, we can have a look at the output from this component. So the area is 1400 centimeters squared, and if I zoom out a bit there, so you can see that this is centimeter cubed, and we can get all of these parameters out. These are the same as they were in GSA. But if you're not happy with this section being in centimeters squared, you can right click on the component, you can say select unit, and you can sorry, you can pick the output parameter, the output unit. So we can select it to be in millimeters squared, or we can select it to be in inches. We can also have a look at the other component I mentioned before, the section dimensions. So if you want to know, for instance, let me give myself a bit more space, move this over. If you want to know the dimensions of a HE400B, we can use this component here. And I didn't give myself enough space, gonna move this a bit more. So the depth of this profile is 40 centimeter, the width is 30, the width of the flanges, the width of the top flange and the width of the bottom flange, they're all the same. So that's 30, 30, 30. The thickness of the top flange, the thickness of the bottom flange, the web thickness, and the roll radius. And if the profile had any holes in it, like a castellated beams, this would be the spacing. And finally we can get the type, which is a catalog type. So